Like most movements regarding women's rights in the early 20th century, it was a battle for women to make a name for themselves in the journalism field, and more specifically, the White House press corps. Women weren't allowed in the White House press briefings until First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt held her own press briefings with the women in journalism during her husband's presidency. During the mid-20th century, however, one woman flipped the gender biases against women of the press on their heads, and that was Helen Thomas. Born in 1920 to Lebanese immigrants, she would later become known as the First Lady of the Press. Helen earned this moniker mainly through the accomplishment of becoming the first female president of the White House Correspondents Association. However, throughout the years, even before and after she claimed the title, Thomas made a name for herself by her unwavering interviews, grilling every president from JFK all the way to the Obama administration. She began in the White House press corps, writing the typical women-targeted stories, usually regarding the First Lady's apparel, and eventually made her way to the front of the press room, paving the way for women in journalism and politics. JFK's presidency launched her career in the White House press corps, as she covered countless pivotal moments during the few years he was president. In 1962, Helen managed to convince President Kennedy to boycott the 3 annual dinners for White House correspondents and photographers if women could not attend. So the president then suggested to the correspondents that all dinners be combined into one and that female correspondents be allowed to attend. All correspondents, with the exception of radio and television, agreed to this suggestion. In a journal, Thomas recalled the fateful day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas. She wrote that she was planning to visit her family in Detroit. When she heard the news of his death, she spent the next 3 days covering every White House event, saying, "It is unusual and uncharacteristic for reporters to cry while they are working. We're not supposed to show emotion, but I was dictating to UPI with tears running from my eyes." She was not one to keep her opinion about presidents' foreign policy decisions to herself, criticizing President George W. Bush and President Obama about their actions in the Middle East. She was the reporter who asked why, questioning the motivation of the administration's actions or inactions. She was forced to resign in 2010 when some of her comments on Israel were seen as anti-Semitic, as they came from her personal background as an Arab woman. She worked into her 90s and died at 92 just 3 years after her resignation. Headstrong in her convictions, she never faltered from what she knew to be right or what needed an answer. And this is what gave her the strength to start a path for many successful women preceding her, checking the executive power and fighting the good fight.